The Age of Discovery, also known as the Age of Exploration, marks one of the most transformative eras in human history. Spanning roughly from the 15th to the 17th century, it was characterized by European maritime powers venturing into uncharted territories to expand trade, claim new lands, and spread their influence. This period not only redefined geographical knowledge, but also initiated a profound cultural exchange, albeit one fraught with exploitation and conflict. Background: Medieval European expansion. Before the Age of Discovery, medieval Europe's world was largely confined to the Mediterranean and nearby regions. The rediscovery of classical texts during the Renaissance, combined with advances in navigation and shipbuilding, set the stage for broader exploration. Trade routes to Asia were long and arduous, controlled by powerful intermediaries such as the Ottoman Empire. The desire for direct access to Asian spices, silk, and gold drove Europeans to seek alternative routes. The Crusades, beginning in the 11th century, also played a role in expanding Europe's horizons. They introduced Europeans to advanced Islamic science, navigation techniques, and goods from Asia. This laid the groundwork for the voyages that would transform the world. Portugal's pioneering role. Portugal was at the forefront of exploration, spearheaded by Prince Henry the Navigator in the 15th century. Although he never embarked on voyages himself, Prince Henry established a school for navigation and funded expeditions along Africa's western coast. Portuguese mariners like Bartolomeu Dias and Vasco da Gama made significant strides, with Dias rounding the Cape of Good Hope in 1488 and da Gama reaching India in 1498. The Portuguese established trading posts in Africa, India, and Southeast Asia, cementing their dominance over the spice trade. Their innovative caravels, coupled with the use of tools like the astrolabe and magnetic compass, were instrumental in their success. Spain's entry. Christopher Columbus and the Americas. Spain entered the race for new lands with the backing of Ferdinand and Isabella, the Catholic monarchs. In 1492, Christopher Columbus, an Italian navigator, set sail westward under the Spanish flag. He aimed to find a direct route to Asia, but instead landed in the Caribbean, mistakenly identifying it as part of the East Indies. His voyages marked the beginning of European colonization in the Americas. Following Columbus's discovery, Spain and Portugal negotiated the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494, dividing the non-European world between them. This treaty granted Portugal rights over Brazil and parts of Africa and Asia, while Spain claimed most of the Americas. The conquest of the New World. Spanish explorers, or conquistadors, ventured into the Americas with a mix of motives: gold, glory, and the spread of Christianity. Hernán Cortés conquered the Aztec Empire in 1521, and Francisco Pizarro overthrew the Inca Empire in 1533. These conquests were facilitated by superior weaponry, alliances with rival indigenous groups, and the devastating impact of European diseases like smallpox. The Spanish established vast colonies, extracting wealth through systems like the encomienda, which exploited indigenous labor. Meanwhile, Catholic missionaries sought to convert native populations, often eradicating their traditional beliefs and practices in the process. The Northern European powers, England, France, and the Dutch. By the late 16th and early 17th centuries, Northern European nations challenged the Iberian dominance in exploration. England. England's entry into exploration began in earnest under Queen Elizabeth I. The English sought new lands to expand trade and establish colonies. John Cabot, an Italian navigator sponsored by England, explored North America's eastern coast in 1497. Later, the English established colonies in North America, most notably Jamestown in 1607 and Plymouth in 1620. They also pursued privateering and participated in the Atlantic slave trade. France. French explorers like Jacques Cartier and Samuel de Champlain mapped Canada and established settlements along the St. Lawrence River. The French focused on fur trading and building alliances with indigenous peoples rather than large-scale colonization. The Dutch. The Netherlands emerged as a major maritime power during the 17th century. The Dutch East India Company, VOC, and Dutch West India Company established trading posts and colonies in Asia, Africa, and the Americas. Henry Hudson, an Englishman in Dutch service, explored North America, including the river and bay that bear his name. Technological advancements and their role. The Age of Discovery was driven by technological innovation. Advances in cartography, shipbuilding, and navigation played a pivotal role. Portolan charts and later, more sophisticated maps helped sailors navigate previously uncharted waters. The caravel, a nimble and durable ship, allowed for long-distance voyages. Instruments like the sextant and astrolabe enabled precise navigation, even when out of sight of land. Shah, the Columbian Exchange. The discovery of new lands initiated the Columbian Exchange, a massive transfer of plants, animals, and people between the Old and New Worlds. Europe introduced wheat, cattle, and horses to the Americas while receiving crops like maize, potatoes, and tobacco in return. This exchange had profound economic and cultural effects, but also brought devastation. Diseases like smallpox decimated indigenous populations in the Americas, while the transatlantic slave trade subjected millions of Africans to forced labor. Exploration of the Pacific. The Pacific Ocean became another arena of European exploration. Ferdinand Magellan's expedition, launched by Spain in 1519, was the first to circumnavigate the globe. Though Magellan himself was killed in the Philippines, his voyage demonstrated the vast scale of the Earth and the interconnectedness of its oceans. Later explorers like James Cook mapped large parts of the Pacific, discovering Australia, New Zealand, and numerous islands. Consequences of European exploration. The discovery of new lands by Europeans had far-reaching consequences, both positive and negative. 1. Economic impact. The influx of wealth, particularly silver and gold from the Americas, transformed European economies. This period marked the rise of mercantilism, where nations sought to accumulate wealth through trade and colonization. Number 2. Cultural exchange. The blending of cultures enriched the global tapestry, leading to innovations in cuisine, agriculture, and the arts. However, the cultural impact often came at the expense of indigenous traditions and knowledge. 3. Colonial rivalries. Competition among European powers for territory and resources led to conflicts and wars, both in Europe and in the colonies. 4. Environmental changes. The introduction of European farming practices, livestock, and deforestation significantly altered ecosystems in the Americas and other regions. 5. Human suffering. Colonization and the transatlantic slave trade caused immense suffering for indigenous peoples and Africans. The exploitation of labor and resources became a defining feature of European imperialism. The European discovery of new lands reshaped the world, creating a global interconnectedness that continues to define modern society. While it led to scientific and cultural advancements, it also brought about exploitation, conflict, and profound environmental changes. The Age of Discovery remains a complex and controversial chapter in history, embodying both human ingenuity and the darker aspects of ambition and conquest.